I recently finished reading Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro and wow. I don't think this book has ever been more relevant than it is today. Klara and the Sun is a story told through the eyes of Klara, an AI friend, and I will go into why that is so interesting in just a second. Klara is brought by Josie, a teenage girl, and her mother, who live alone aside from their housekeeper in a rural house outside a city. Josie is ill, and her health waxes and wanes from day to day. So because of this, and their isolated home, she only has one real friend, her neighbour, Rick. At first, we as the reader assume that her loneliness is the main reason her mother buys her an AF, but as the story progresses, the real, darker reason comes to light. Klara and the Sun is a book about companionship, how far we'd go to help the ones we love, and ultimately, what it means to truly live, all set in a future that isn't as distant as we might think. Once again, Ishiguro's writing is just second to none. For one thing, he doesn't think the reader is stupid. That's one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to reading novels, the fact that show, don't tell is lost with some authors. Of course, a little bit of exposition can be helpful, and Ishiguro manages to weave it in where needed, but for the most part he kind of just leaves us to figure out the information on our own, and that is exactly the kind of writing that I love. The world he builds is visceral, and the stark differences between the bustling, polluted, crowded city and the airy countryside only add to the palpable atmosphere of this book. He touches on important themes, such as class divides, climate change, and of course, the development of technology. But he manages to do so in a way that doesn't make it feel preachy or like he's giving a lecture. And I think the main reason for this is because Klara, an artificially intelligent robot, is our speaker. We live in a world where technology is always within reach. We have our eyes locked on screens for hours of the day, heads bowed and shoulders hunched, unable to break the cycle of scrolling or simply unlocking our phones for something to pass the time. Klara and the Sun shows us the direction in which we're headed, and as I said earlier, the world Ishiguro has created isn't all that far away. We already have AI readily available to us in different formats. We have technological assistants to answer questions and control our homes, and there are even robots that are used to perform surgeries. So, is the idea of a humanoid AI entering a home to keep a child company, monitor her health, and eventually become a part of the family really that far-fetched? In my opinion, I don't think it is. That isn't to say I'm on board with the development of AI. In fact, I think a technological apocalypse is a hell of a lot more probable than zombies, even though that makes for very good entertainment. But I can also see the positives, and Ishiguro performs a masterclass in how he presents every perspective within the book. Klara is not human, therefore she doesn't judge any of the actions of the characters, she simply observes them and notes what they do. The judgment is left to the reader, and every time I've spoken to someone about this book, they've had a different opinion of every single character. Some think of Josie's mother as a sympathetic character, while others see her as the villain of the story. In some ways, I'm kind of caught between. I can see why she does what she does, why she makes the choices she makes despite the morbid place she's coming from. She's preparing Klara to become Josie in case her health takes a turn for the worse. Some see that as inherently wrong, especially as she's doing it in secret and lying to Josie about their visits to the heaving metropolis. But if you take a step back and try to understand that this is a mother who believes she might lose her child, and who lives in a world where robots are almost advanced enough to pass as human beings, you can at least see why she'd consider such a thing. Plus, it's because she decided to have Josie lifted that she even has health problems in the first place. So there's definitely an element of guilt behind her drive to make a robotic replicant of her child. By the way, Ishiguro doesn't really go into the details on what being lifted means, but it's basically a way for parents to increase the intelligence of their children. I think the argument about whether Klara would be able to fill the hole that Josie could leave behind is very much still up for debate. I mean, sure, she can learn her mannerisms and even look like her, but she'll never be the real thing, will she? Something I found the most fascinating about this book, however, is the bond that Klara forms with Josie. Even though she's a robot who technically has no real capacity for emotion, she clearly cares for the sickly teenager and only wants what's best for her. And when Josie becomes ill and everyone fears the worst, she does everything she can think of to try and save her, even going as far as to sacrifice herself. Klara starts the story inside a shop, and as she stares out the window at the world beyond, she believes she sees a homeless man brought back to life, seemingly by the power of the sun. She's also solar powered, and both of these things lead her to believe that the sun is a kind of god, almost. And that opens up a whole other can of worms about AI believing in deities or religions, so I think we will leave that for another time. When Josie is close to dying, Klara makes a deal with the sun that if she tries to destroy the machines polluting the earth, the sun will heal Josie in return. Klara and Josie's father, who lives in a community that's against the AI that's drip-feeding into society, destroy one of the pollution machines using fluid from inside Klara that weakens her. And while there are still thousands more of these machines, she begs the sun to heal Josie anyway. So, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking that if this AI didn't feel some sort of love for Josie, would she have done so much just to save her? So I'll leave you with this final thought. When the AI we're currently building enters general circulation, is there a possibility that we might learn to love it? And more importantly, that it might learn to love us? Or, perhaps, the opposite.